Hello, I'm Joshua Finn from J&H Aerospace. Today I'm going to teach you how to, I'm going to show you how to build the Carbonette 8. You will notice this is not an 8-inch airplane. My Carbonette 8 is somewhere en route of delivery because it was left up a tree at Mac Hodges Field, which is the home of Seth Hafey and other various major RC events. So we're just putting this out here. The reason that for the name of the Carbonette series is it's a sweepette pattern aircraft that is clad with carbon on the fuselage. However, for the production kits, we're actually not doing that. We're just giving you hard balsa, and you can reinforce it with carbon if you so choose. This is kind of an expert's level kit. If you're not an expert, you can still build it, but we're not gonna give you all the little beginner level tips. This is the real deal here. These are high performance competition gliders, and they go fast. And so if this should not be your first glider. It just should not. So with that disclaimer, let's go ahead and get started. What we'll do real quick is we will inventory everything. Have your data manual with plans and whatnot. You should have a fuselage stick. You should have your wings and also your little wash-in wedge and your dihedral templates and your tail surfaces and your little plywood parts. So you can fly this as a hand launch glider. It does include a grip there. Should have some clay, rubber band, your catapult, and basswood for your leading edge. Something you will supply that you will probably find yourself needing is some sandpaper, because you'll probably want to put sandpaper on your finger grip. Okay, let's get started with the build. We're going to start by cutting out our wing, and should just pop free real nice like. And we'll leave the other parts in there for now. So once you've got this, you're going to go ahead and sand any burrs off of your leading edge. Next, we'll take this piece of basswood and we're going to go get it wet. Okay, I've gone and I've soaked this piece of basswood in water. This step is messy, and I don't know a better way to do it. If you think of one, you're welcome to try it. Roughly center this piece of basswood here. Put a dab of glue in and work it partway out. Lay this piece of wood against an edge of your wing blank and just pull it along there. And keep adding glue. Make sure there aren't any gaps in the glue line. And now you're just going to press this guy all the way out along there, like so. And if you don't like getting super glue on your hands, this is the time you're going to have to make an exception, because it is going to get on your hands. And we can run it out here to about the tip of the airplane. Now we'll come back on the other side. And we're going to do the same thing. Work it all the way out there to the tip. You want to make sure that it's touching all the way along so that you have complete bond. So at this point, you now have a wing blank that is ready to be sanded to your choice of airfoil. I recommend you go to discuskid.com and look up Stan Buddenbaum's latest airfoil recommendations, and also refer back to our video on the Aletta the Aletta Catapult glider for how we sand airfoils in. You're going to use a razor plane. You're going to just come in here and you're going to start planing wood off the back, and you're going to keep doing this until you've got basically a wedge shape coming up forward. Then once all that's done, you're going to come to the front and you're going to start working your way back to where you've got a high point about 25% cord. Then you'll come along the bottom, you'll sand it in a little bit of upsweep and use your razor plane to help that along. It's okay to plane into the wood, into the basswood on the front, because you want that sanded into your, incorporated as part of your airfoil. This provides your ding resistance. This makes these airplanes last a long time, until you lose it in the thermal, and you will. The thing is that you want your airfoil to curve up on the bottom, but on the top you want it to come to a sharp point, so that curve comes up and then it's flat. And that's just the very front part of the wing, and then from the back, from that flat, you go ahead and sand over a curve, and then everything from about 25% cord back is just a straight line back. And again, go to discuskid.com, and the information that Stan has put out is better than anything I can tell you, so so go with what he says for airfoils. Okay, so if you've done a good job, that means you've spent the past 10 minutes, or probably much longer, turning half of what you had into dust and wood shavings. Now, as you notice, we've got laser cut guide marks for cutting your wing up. And you will notice that these look like they're crooked. That's for a purpose. They're angled out the same amount from the center section. And that places your tips at a lower angle, so that gives you your washout in your wing tips. On this aircraft, that really does make a difference. Now, I recommend using something like a Zona saw and line it up with those cut marks, and that just allows you to make really quick work of these dihedral cuts. So you're cutting your wing that you spent all that time on, you're cutting it up into little bitty pieces so that you can sand it and then glue it back together again. Welcome to model gliders. And one last piece. And if you notice, I'm sanding from the front to the back. That way I don't run the risk of peeling that basswood leading edge off as I cut through it. So you're going to take each of your pieces and you're going to bevel sand each one of these. So for example, sand these two, and now they will mate together in a nice dihedral angle. Next we're going to, now that we've sanded all our dihedral joins, we're going to cut out these templates we have for our dihedral brakes. And so our short steep one, is going to be for our outers, and we'll use the other one for the inners. So what I like to do is I like to do the outer brakes first, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, I guess. So I'm going to add my glue in, lay that in place. and lay my dihedral template in. And wait for that to harden. So that gets us one. Now we'll do the second one on a part of my wax paper that I have not cut through, sanded through something. Torn is more the point. And we again lay our template in there. I think that glue was hardening up as I was doing that, so watch out for your hardening time on your glue. I think I could use just a little bit more. Got a gap there anyway, so might as well. A little bit of weight from extra CA is not going to hurt you on these. Alright. And got a little bit of blue flashing on there. Get rid of that. Yeah, got some on this one too. We'll go ahead and get rid of it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and join the center panel, or center dihedral brake. Put this guy in place. I'm going to slide that in. And it's a little bit harder to get to. Main thing is make sure they join evenly. Alright, so there you go. We got a completed wing. I will go ahead and add some accelerator to the mix, though. Alright, we have polyhedral. Alright, we're going to go ahead and cut out our fuselage. This is from some pretty rock hard balsa that we try to make these for you. So sometimes the laser cutter does not go consistently through them. However, if you get one that is this poorly cut through, feel free to send me an email asking me what I was thinking. A lot of people don't know that you can actually special order extra hard balsa from SIG in addition to extra light. But you cannot specify the grain unless you call them up and ask them to hand select the wood. They will then ask you, are you sure you want to pay 40 cents extra a sheet? Which I've never told them that their extra fee still does not bring their cost up to what I pay for a regular sheet of wood in a hobby shop. So, alright, so we've got our fuselage prepared, if you will. Now there are some options you have on this fuselage. For example, if you want to really save weight, after you got this guy all sanded pretty light, you'll notice that the fuselage by design has very nice taper in this direction, but by definition it's the same thickness all the way along here. So what I like to do is I like to take my razor plane, I like to take a couple progressive swipes. And typically I don't even sand it when I'm done, but that just cuts down the extra a little bit. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to lay my fuselage on these plans, and I am going to mark my wing location. And then I'm going to make sure everything is sanded flat. Fun fact, lasers do not always actually give you a perfect cut through the wood. Sometimes they actually give you a little bit of a bevel. So be on the lookout for that. Again, not critical, but handy piece of information. And now you're going to put a bead of glue here. Lay the wing in place, and our goal just is to make sure that this direction, looking from above, is lined up correctly. Fuselage is tilted a little to one side or the other. That actually is very, very non-critical. Now, one of the things that I should point out, since we've sanded up sweep into this wing, we actually effectively have the wing angled upward. So even though we're gluing the stabilizer back here on the same plane, we effectively have up elevator built into this aircraft. So you will probably find yourself having to adjust by adding some down elevator strips on the stabilizer. We go ahead and cut out tail surfaces. Although on the Aletta we didn't go into it a whole lot, I'm going to say on this aircraft, take your time to get a good airfoil on everything, including the tail. The reason for that is every little bit counts on this thing. If you are willing to take the time, you can get this aircraft to do every bit of 70 seconds in dead air. I figure I usually use the measure that mine are trimmed when they will consistently do between 65 and 70 seconds. And sand your rudder down real nice too. So I go for a more or less symmetrical airfoil on the stab. And now what we're going to do is we're going to glue our stab in place here. And you want, assuming of course that you're right-handed, you want this side of your stab to be higher than this side, and that gives you your nice left turn. And I'm going to sand a little bit of an airfoil profile here into my rudder. This will allow me to get a real nice, pretty fit of it. Now your rudder, if you're gonna accidentally glue it on with some offset, have it offset to the left. Again, assuming that you're right-handed. But better is to eyeball that it is perfectly centered. Okay, last steps. We're going to take scissors to make sure that these parts cut out real nice and tidy like. These are plywood. And so you've got 3 plywood parts. One of these is optional, but I'm going to show you how to install it. Because I put it on all of mine because I like to occasionally go out and find out just how easy it is to hurt your arm by throwing little things as hard as possible. Now, with this catapult hook, we've got the sharp point down here, the curved section here. I'm actually going to go on the top here and I'm going to sand this nice and sharp. And instead of gluing this to the side of my fuselage, I am going to come into the front of my nose and I am going to cut, as you can see here. That's one for the bloopers reel. Okay. We're going to actually shove that catapult hook into the fuselage. So what we want to do is we want to run glue on here. Don't skimp on the glue on this part because this thing is under a lot of tension. And so there's where your catapult hook ends up. And now we're going to do the same thing with our finger grip. And we'll refer back to the plans. Finger grip lines up with the front of the wing leading edge. And so we make sure that that cut in there is widened out real nice, like so. Pop it back out. Give it some glue. And force it back in. And now I'm actually going to come in here and I'm just going to snip off a little snippet of sandpaper so that when I'm pulling this thing back with however many pounds of tension it works out to, I have something to hold on to. You want to grip this as far down as possible, reason being that ensures that you don't cut your stab off every time you launch this thing. And that goes back to this is not what I would call a beginner's aircraft. Last step. So if you are right-handed, you're going to glue this component over here. And I should correct myself. This is not the last step. There's one other one after this. So we thoroughly glue that on so that it mates into the airfoil. So now, like so. And that's another benefit of our sandpaper there. Now, the last thing is, going back to our wing sheet, we had this little square over here. We're going to take this and we're going to cut it to a wedge cross section. And we are going to, I guess you would say preemptively, we're going to glue this. Again, if you're right-handed, this is the left wing. And the plans do show the location of this part. So you can see I've got my wedged cross section. And we'll see where it's located. It's flush against, thought that glue was dry. so it's flush against the trailing edge of the wing there. And so that gives you, when you have a little bit of left rudder, when you launch this, the aircraft is going to pitch up, and it's going to come over, but this wash-in wedge is going to hold that wing up. Do that one more time. You launch this aircraft level, the aircraft will start to pitch up, the rudder will pull it over, it'll dip this wing, and then the wash-in will kick in and level it out as the speed bleeds off. And then that'll correspond to when you really pull this thing back. All that good stuff happens. Again, watch the video we did on trimming these. This should not take a whole lot of nose weight, but yeah, you put a dab of glue up here, mount this, put a nose weight in, and CG it right about there. And that's about what you want. Just to review, we're going to tie a nice knot in here for our catapult. Oh, that was graceful. This is where I would recommend that you do lubricate this in advance. I'm in a hurry tonight, so I'm not. And then we take our rubber, bring it together, and I'm going to pull it like so. Grab these two bits, ram through. Nope, that's not how I do it. There we go. So I've got a slip knot that I've formed. Put that onto my catapult, and now we are ready for flight testing. Not flying, flight testing, because you need to do that. And you've got enough scrap material, particularly your 1/32. I recommend using that, cutting that into thin little strips, and using that for your trimming shims, and you will not need much. Small adjustments are what's required. And let's see here. Hopefully we can get a nice glide going. Yeah, a little tail heavy yet, but there you go. So, I hope you've enjoyed this build. Give us some comments below, and the kit is available at J&H Aerospace, or J&H Aerospace. There we go. JHAerospace.com. Bye bye.